Hey there, comic friends. I'm Travis. It's Comic Book Roundtable, or at least it's me on the Comic Book Roundtable, and I'm reading my messages up in the corner that are telling me that that Hangouts are going away August 1st. So this is possibly more than likely the last Comic Book Roundtable. I have no idea if it's going to come back. I'm not sure how much of a hassle it's going to be to do the whole Twitch thing, and if people are interested in having Twitch channels also, so we can link them all together and whatnot. And as much as I love hanging out here and BS and comics with people, and it's always fun when you guys come on and comment during the show and whatnot, I'm not sure if it's worth the hassle. So we'll see. May just be how I'm feeling today, and 2 weeks from now I may decide, hey, I want to do this, and I'll figure all that stuff out. We'll see. I don't know. Anyway, just me tonight. So I'm gonna blow through some of these books probably quickly, because it always feels strange to sit here and talk to myself. I'm gonna talk Marvel books first. Marvel books that I read that I enjoyed. The Immortal Hulk, this is issue number 21, had a guest artist on it, which was fine, because it was basically gave us the back history of General Fontaine, to kind of show his upbringing and his movement through the military to basically inspire him to be the person that he is. He dons a battle suit, and they teleport him into the Alpha Flight, or I guess they're Gamma Flight is what they're calling themselves now, their little secret headquarters stuff, and he takes out everybody that's in the place at the time. I mean, he takes out Samson, he takes out Puck, so yeah, and violently so. Talks about, collateral damage and who's innocent and who isn't. It was really good. It's just been an excellent series as a whole. And I'm always excited for the next issue, and this thing comes out at least once a month, sometimes more than once a month. I'm always happy with that. It's always been rock solid and steady. If this is kind of to give the regular artist Bennett a break, it was seamless. Like I said, with it having a different artist on it, where largely probably 75-80% of the book is flashbacks. It works great for that. So kudos all around to Marvel. This is an excellent book all the way around. Another Marvel book I picked up this last week, Silver Surfer Black. This is all about the art for me. Not 100% sure what's going on in the story itself. It may have some loose connection to the Cenobite stuff or Carnage stuff, or I'm not 100% sure. But the Tradd Moore artwork, Silver Surfer stuff is just really cool. And that's really why I'm reading it. I'm reading it for the pretty pictures. That's what comic books are about, right? But yeah, I'm really digging that. Clearly there's this person here, this dark god figure who I believe has some attachment to Silver Surfer's past in some way, that he is fighting, and he is struggling to get away or conquer that deity. And here's a voice talking in his head. He follows that voice, and it leads him to Ego, I think is this giant living planet like creature. So I am I'll be curious to see what that's going to be like. The art for it, like I said, all the stuff, it continues to be really cool. Yeah, see there you go. Some pretty awesome stuff. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, the art is what makes the book. He's being chased by a good old dragon. It's just cool. Just some really cool stuff going on. Great coloring by Dave Stewart, of course. Yeah, I think this is 6 issues, so we're a quarter of the way through. Oh, third of the way through. Third of the way through. Do math. A book I didn't really read much of. I kind of perused Spider-Man life story. This is the thousands. I missed issue 4. Somehow I didn't order it. I wish I didn't order this. I don't particularly care for it. I think the Mark Bagley artwork continues to be weaker and weaker all the time. Coloring wasn't so good in it. I'm just absolutely not interested whatsoever in any way, shape, or form in the book. So I think it ends at 6. But other people are being Spider-Man in this at points. He's Spider-Man at some point. His kids fight off Morpheus, I think. I don't know. Whatever. Like I said, I browsed it because I couldn't stomach to read it, to be honest. Just it's not doing anything for me. And I have a massive stack of comics. And so wasn't going to waste my time with it and wish I hadn't spent my money on it. Anyway, Marvel news-wise, I can't think of anything in particular. So I'm going to move on to DC books. Let's see, where do I want to start? Let's start with Aquaman. I got the variant cover, the hard stock cover with Black Manta on it. Black Manta is briefly in this at the end of it, so they can do the whole, you're the villain, the offer story that's going throughout this little drone that looks like a miniature, Legion of Doom building shows up and offers the villains in all these comics, some great thing. It feels like a story that we've seen before, but whatever. So in the regular Aquaman issue number 50, I would say this probably is more of your traditional Aquaman story. He goes back to his bay, the Currys have lived, and meets all the people that are a familiar cast of humans in his life, largely, I assume. He's taken these sea gods with them. They're finding a place for the sea gods to hang out and stuff. And Wonder Woman shows up. There's some good commentary on immigration in there that I really enjoyed. And I enjoyed it. It was good. I mean, as far as kind of like another starting place for this character, and maybe what might be coming. We get some Mira stuff. Mira's pregnant. The two of them are being kind of stupid people in love who have hurt feelings towards each other and are basically waiting for the other one to come and talk to them. And they both kind of assume that the other one's going to do it, which is clearly going to add a higher level of conflict. So boy, we'll see what goes on with that. And then another one of the You're the Villain, but this is also City of Bane. And I got the variant cover. Look at old Bane's face there, getting all juiced up. Batman issue 75. Everything's starting to come together now. Bane controls Gotham. He has its own police force, and kind of the head of that. And then on the head of the police force, but certainly a special ops for the police force, is Thomas Wayne, Batman. And Gotham, of course, is an ugly place. And they kind of talk about how there's a stalemate, and all of the heroes know what's going on in Gotham, but they're all staying out of Gotham, partially because Thomas Wayne there at the mansion kind of has Alfred held hostage. There's some more interesting dialogue as far as the city of as far as the Year of the Villain stuff goes. Bane is offered kind of the heart's desire, and he's kind of like, yeah, I got it. This is all I want. I'm going to make this my thing, and I'm going to force the government. I'm going to force the United States to view Gotham as a sovereign country within the United States. And he basically pretty much tells Luthor that Luthor will fail at some point. The crazy scheme, whatever he's got going on, he's going to fail at, and so he doesn't want any part of it and whatnot. Super stoked for this. This was an absolutely fabulous first issue of the whole City of Bane stuff. The Joker and the Riddler are detectives on the police force, which is completely nuts. Two-Face is a rogue character in this, in that he is not working under Bane. So the police force, the new police force, is hunting Two-Face down. Yeah, and Gotham Girl's in it too. It's some interesting stuff. I really enjoyed it. I'm excited about it. And the only other DC book I got, only 3 books this week from DC, was Superman's Pal, Jimmy Olsen, issue #1 of 12, written by Matt Fraction, artwork by Steve Lieber, Fairbrain doing the coloring on it. This was a absolutely fabulous book. I chuckled all the way through it. It's got the kind of goofy tongue-in-cheek of the old Superman Pal, Jimmy Olsen. It's like little vignettes of the fact that Jimmy Olsen gets himself in all kinds of trouble. He gets the newspaper in trouble. The newspaper wants to fire him, but they find out that when it's all said and done, Jimmy Olsen's the person who's making money for the newspaper, while everyone else is still doing newsprint. Jimmy's videotapes himself doing all this ridiculous stuff that Superman ultimately ends up saving him at all the time. But after all the ad revenue and all that stuff comes out of the videos that are posted online, that's what makes money. Well, that's great, but they don't want him in Metropolis anymore, so they send him like around the world, and it ends with him in Gotham, and it takes kind of a serious note because it implies that he is trying to uncover his own murder. So I'm hoping that is not going to be the premise, the thing at the very end. It is. I'm just hoping the end of it isn't what the book's going to be all the time. The murder thing. I'm worried about that because that kind of suddenly gives it a dark overtone. But it was hilarious. Otherwise, I mean, the kind of, every like 5 or 6 pages, like, this is the adventure we call Jimmy's this, and this is the adventure we call Jimmy's that. And the art is brilliant in it. I think it goes to show, if you read Superior Foes of Spider-Man, which is the last real work of, besides the Fix, that I've read of Steve Lieber's artwork, the physicality, the facial expressions and stuff like that, that made Superior Foes of Spider-Man funny. It's the art way more so than the writer, I think. And in this case, the Fraction stuff, there's some smart stuff in here, some smart storytelling ideas, but the levity of the book, the funniness of it it's the art. There's these gag and stuff that's just, it's just brilliant. But like I said, we get all these different little adventures. This is the adventure we call this, or this is the adventure we call that, kind of a thing. There's some cameo, appearances in it, Metamorphose briefly in it, and some of that stuff. This little part here is called, Jimmy Olsen's boss, Perry White, to clean a little house in force manure. So yeah, it's just some good stuff. It's some good stuff. Superman is classic in it. He's just perfect for this role in this thing. I love this 6-page panel here of just different adventures that Jimmy's been on to kind of go, okay, yeah, you're right. Maybe I do get into some crazy stuff and whatnot. Yeah, and like I said, then it ends in Gotham, and the guy that's in Gotham, I think it's curious, they gave him a really thick, like, New Yorker accent. And I always envisioned, so is Gotham kind of New York? I always kind of thought maybe it was like Chicago or something, but he is in Gotham, and he is out to figure out his own who killed Jimmy Olsen. And like I said, so I'm hoping that does not, that isn't going to be the story the rest of the way through the book, because I don't want it to be dark. I want it to be this kind of romp, this fun, laugh with some really good winks and nods and chuckles in it. Matt Fraction needs to write more comic books. I'm noticing in the comments there that Comic to Comics here, and he was saying it felt good to read Fraction again. And I think so too. I think he's a great writer with excellent sensibilities and deliver that. So I'm really hoping that we're gonna, that'll continue. We'll get this stuff on it. So Comic to Comics saying East Coast, but we didn't really think there was an accent. But clearly the landlord that's renting him the room by the day clearly has a thick accent, kind of a deal. So Batman Begins started the whole Gotham is Chicago thing, I think. Okay, well, okay. I don't know. I just never struck me as that it would be. I mean, I guess at some point I thought maybe it was New York, but but the New Yorker accent thing kind of threw me. The heavy Bronx sounding sort of a deal I thought was kind of strange. Let's see. I can't think of any DC news. I'm avoiding the whole Year of the Villain thing. I got that 25-cent book. I'm not getting any of the other stuff. I really wish to be honest with you, I wish the whole thing kind of went away or it didn't affect everything else. A Year of Villains. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to look. There's lots of ads in these books. Like there's a giant 2-page spread ad, I believe. Of course, the one book I pick up probably doesn't have it in it. No, it doesn't, right? That figures. I'm just not. Oh yeah. Well, here's the Batman ridiculous giant ad, and I'm not interested in this character. I'm not interested in this character at all. And they've basically let Scott Snyder pollute the entire DC universe with the stupid, Batman who laughs infection stuff. There's another one of these books. Clearly not this one, but there's another one that has a picture and it's like, who's the infected kind of a thing. And I don't remember which book it was in or whatever, but I don't want it to be affect the entire universe. They can have an event. I'm not interested in it. I'm not interested in it hosing everything else that's out there, I guess is what it really comes down to. So, I know there's stuff that came out of San Diego Comic-Con. I know people complained like there really wasn't, but there was stuff that did come out of that. So I know one thing that I was kind of excited about. Tom King and Mitch Gerads are doing a space adventure book. So it's got like Adam Strange, that sort of thing and whatnot. Of course, I'll be picking that up. Anything those two guys are doing together as a team, for me is a no-brainer. Clearly gonna pick that stuff up. Those guys cleaned house on Eisner's. I think that Mitch got 2 at least. I think Tom King got 4 Eisner's or was attached to 4 Eisner's, I want to think. Best writer. I know some people are like throwing huge fits over the fact that he's best writer. I think he is. I mean, some of the other stuff that he was going up against was good stuff. The Immortal Hulk is an excellent comic. But that's one comic versus the breadth of the stuff that Tom King is doing. And I'm a huge advocate of his Batman now. It's a horrible comparison. But his Batman is like, Shakespeare versus, a standard textbook, most other comic books at this point. It's clearly he's writing on in a different sort of way than everybody else is. People complain about it being boring. There's not enough words. There's not enough going on or whatever. And I just think that's crazy because he understands to let the artist do the work that they should do. that the comics are based on and whatnot. I don't see Batman as being a chatty person in his head or verbally. So lots of the Batman stuff I think works very well under those under those hangings and whatnot. As a matter of fact, when he was more chatty and more in his head, when this new Batman started, I didn't like it. I didn't like the character. So I don't know. I can't think of any other DC news other than there's going to be a second season of Doom Patrol. I am super excited by that. So King is to X as Moore is to Millar. Yeah, probably. For sure. I'm not a fan of Millar at all. So there you go. I think that Millar is a charlatan. So he's written a few things I enjoy and then they become suspect. And I think a lot of his other stuff is suspect, and more so. And even more suspect with his deal with Netflix. Everything becomes even more suspect, I think. But at any rate, that's a whole other show probably. I'm gonna jump into indie comics. I did read a few indie comic books. Most of them I'm just going to give a brief chat over. So Faithless issue number 4. This is the Jenny Friedan erotic cover, which I will not open up, even though it's not. It's a half-naked lady with way more than her own hands touching her. But I like the story. I love the art. It's an interesting story at times. Like there are times where it doesn't feel like one thing happens in this issue. There's two things that happen. There's a giant, I don't know if the guy is hallucinating, but there's a giant sperm monster that he coughs up, and it gets arms and legs and basically kills him, or he thinks that's what happens or whatever. And our older artist guy's clearly up to something. Our main character, who can kind of manipulate things through magic, does none of that in this in this issue. So whereas I like the art, there's some cool ideas and some freaky ideas in it. It is a little rudderless right now. I have no idea how many issues this thing is supposed to be. If it's 6 issues, which I have no idea, but if it's 6 issues, which for some reason in my head I'm thinking it is, I don't know where they're going with it in 2 issues. I really don't. So moments that are cool, lots that I don't, whatever. And I like Maria Lovett's art style is cool. So I don't know, man. Collapser, issue number 1 from Young Animals. This is written by Gerard Way's brother, Mikey Way, and Sean Simon. I'm interested in the ideas that go on in the comic. I do not care for the main character. I do not care for his. I'm not buying into. I mean, I'm not buying into him. He's in his head a lot, and I don't know if he's has some serious paranoia issues or whatever, but he's got lots of thought bubbles without them actually attaching them to make thought bubbles out of them and whatnot. Now, there are elements of this story. There's some great artwork. There's this dead person. She's got these black spots on it. Those black spots end up being a relevant sort of a thing. But this layout, like this page, how this person is laid here dead. And then there she is, and this guy in bed down here, the final panel, laying in the exact same position. That's some cool stuff. That's some cool artwork. That's some cool correlations and that sort of thing. Digging that. But like I said, this kid who spends all of his time in his, yammering his head, he's paranoid. He's kind of talking to us, and he's kind of talking to himself. I don't know. It isn't until we get to the latter half of the book that I'm like, this is intriguing. But even then, I'm not exactly sure what's up. He's now got this like black hole in the middle of him, and he's fallen into another dimension, and and time isn't right, and I'm just not sure. So we'll see. It didn't, like I said, there are parts of like I said, I love the art, love the page layouts, that's the panel layouts and that sort of thing. But this guy he's got a lot of static in his head. So I don't know. I don't know about that. Let's see. Gideon Falls, issue number 15. We're back to the horror element, back to what I am more comfortable with this book, as opposed to the other stuff that's been going on in it. I really enjoyed this issue. We definitely we pop back to Father Ted and what's going on there, and kind of reground ourselves back in the original stuff that we were reading. So now, I'm as always interested to see where it goes from here and what is next. But now it kind of moved back to some of the more creepy horror elements to it, as opposed to the kind of out there sci-fi-ish that the book has taken a more of a turn towards. But still definitely really enjoying it. And definitely can see how they turn into a TV show, which I know it has been bought for that. Let's see. Here we are, Ghost Tree, issue number 4. I don't know if this is the final issue. It could end here. There's some stuff that gets resolved with the ghosts and our guy who can see the ghosts. Wonderful Simon Gain artwork in it. The main character goes home to kind of resolve his own personal issues in life, and they do not work out. I mean, it kind of sets you up thinking it's going to be, somewhat of a storybook sort of an ending. Even after death, his grandfather and grandmother seem to kind of resolve some stuff. So you think, oh, he's going to go home and he's going to resolve all the stuff there, and it all kind of blows up in his face. So I don't know if there's more so that can be resolved, or this is going to be a book that's just life, and sometimes things get so broken you can't resolve them. So, but like I said, really like the artwork. It's been a quaint and charming kind of a story. So, a newer book, Excellence issue number 3. It continues to have the kind of conflict between father and son. The would-be prodigal son who's supposed to be all this great stuff. He's not meeting the standard that his dad wanted. There's conflict. Son makes choices that cause the heartache for the entire family, which I'm fine with all that. I love those kind of those stories and whatnot. They interest me, and that sort of thing. The thing is, though, this whole kind of magic society, these guys are assigned people to protect, and they say it again here. This is all book with people of color, African Americans, Black, and they're charged with protecting and guiding subtly, without the person knowing, white people of potential in particular directions. Okay, that's interesting, but why? And they have not addressed that in the book, or if they have, I've completely missed that part of it. And I really want to know that part of it. I'm digging the book. It's cool and all. It's cool seeing these kind of, magical conflicts and how magic works in this world. And, you can't use it against each other because it has recoil and, all the stuff. This issue, as a matter of fact, is called Recoil. Our guy is charged with collecting this person, and if he does that, he can get back in the good graces, because last issue he used a bunch of illegal magic to try and resurrect and keep his grandmother alive. It only halfway worked, and now he's basically paying penance, kind of a thing. But there's these larger things that I'm really curious as to why that is, and they haven't explained that in the comic yet, and it feels like a really charged topic not to have addressed yet. The creator of this book are of African descent also. So I know there's a story there. There's a reason for that. I just we're past issue 3. I want to get to the meat and potatoes of why that would be. If you have awesome magic and can manipulate the world and manipulate stuff, why, considering the history, and I'm assuming largely normal history's operating the way it always has, and in secret, nobody knows about these mages doing their stuff. That means we've had slavery, civil war, all that kind of stuff here in the United States. Why at this point? Why would they be tasked with guiding potentially a group of people who are your oppressors, when you could fix the stuff or stop stuff from happening that's happening? So I kind of really want that story at some point soon. Yeah. Animosity issue number 22. I almost wondered if this was the final issue. Jesse and Sandoval, our two main characters, our girl and our dog, our hound, had been poisoned by snake venom so they could talk to God and figure out why all the animals were awakened and whatnot. That doesn't really happen. They see a bunch of stuff. They basically go on a really bad trip, almost die or get their hearts restarted, and talk a lot about the love they have for each other and their hopes and their dreams, and hopefully the sun's going to come up tomorrow and it'll be a better day and that sort of thing. But there is going to be more, supposedly. I will say, with the new artist on the book, Elton Tomasi, just is not as good as the original guys on the book. And I say not as good because they're trying to ape the original artist's look, and sometimes it works, and then a lot of times it doesn't work. It just feels clearly this isn't the artist, but it's somebody tried to be that artist. So it's kind of unfortunate. I mean, I get the idea. You want to try to keep the art the same because a lot of these independent books, the art makes it feel like, this book is, grounded in what it is. Because of that, I think this is a book that could have moved forward with just using a different art style. And I will continue with the book, but it's not coming out as fast as what it once was. And I don't know how much more there is to it. Clearly, if their adventure is to get to San Francisco, they are, still in Virginia, I believe. I don't think they've actually left Virginia on their way to San Francisco on foot. So there's a long ways to go if they're really going to keep telling that story. But I continue to enjoy it. That exploration between those characters, I really like. Bronze Age Boogie. This is a Ahoy Comics book, issue number 4. It was all right. They added another character to the book. Our master kung fu guy, his dad suddenly shows up. We get a brief amount of history about who Dad was and what Dad did. Dad's basically a bastard, or made our master kung fu guy a bastard, as it were. We're kind of circling around the Martians. There's going to be a fight, possibly. Our warrior mage princess girl has rode off into the land she is not supposed to go into, and has basically been zapped by this energy entity that they're going to possibly share bodies with. And I don't know what's going to happen next. So this issue seemed a little less getting to some point, and more just starting other stuff. There's 2 more issues of this left in it, I believe, and then this story is done. So I'll be curious to see how they deal with the Martians in 2 issues that are kind of taking over the timelines throughout all of modern, well, at least 1975, 1979, 75, and backwards timelines, and how it'll get square away. Do the time traveling monkeys jump in to help shift stuff around? I don't know. So, a new book that just came out. This is issue number 1 of Vault's Resonant, which I really, really liked. It was it was creepy and eerie. You don't know exactly what's happening. The artwork in it is really great. It's written by David Andre, artwork by a Leonardo Aragon, I guess. Jason Worley does the colors on it. But it has got awesome art in it. So it's set somewhere in some apocalyptic near future. There is a man and his family of 3 kids. The wife, mother is gone. One of the kids is missing a leg. She's the older sister. And there are 2 younger brothers. One of the younger brothers has some sort of ailment that's causing them real problems. They're out in the middle of the wilderness. They have a safe room in it. Dad is having to leave and go adventure out to get some needed medicine for the younger son. And he keeps warning them about the fact, to watch out because this big thing is coming. They're taking chirpers with them, which are like these katydids of sorts. They have like this whole like box of them that they raise them in. Like if you had a box of like worms, but in this case, it's a box of these chirpy bugs. And he sets off on an adventure after doubly, triply warning his kids that they need to be careful. Anything starts to happen, they need to lock themselves in or whatever. And you think, oh, okay, cool. He goes wandering off, and the kids go about their business while he's out. He comes across some road-worn guy who seems very desperate and very lonely just for people. He tries to keep engaging the father. The father's like, nope, stay back, stay away. Wary of people from the outside because you just don't know who's a good person, who's not a good person. And then something happens. Something starts to come at them. The guy wants one of these chirpers because he doesn't have any. He ate the last one, he thinks. So the guy's going to give him it, and it starts chirping. And the chirping is a warning. It's like the bugs have a way of sensing this energy, this whatever is coming. So you get this artwork where it starts getting all orange and violent and lots of action, and the bugs are chirping like crazy. He knocks this traveler down and ties him up because he can't trust him. And then he squats down himself and he starts chanting this thing. And you're like, why is he saying they're chanting? And why are the bugs going crazy? Back at the house, the kids are running to get inside because this wave is coming. Oh no, this wave is coming. Hurry, hurry. And they kind of get inside, and bad stuff is happening, and you just don't know what's going on. The energy is so great in it. They lock, the 2 younger boys get locked in the safe room. She wraps a rope around the kid's leg, hoists him up in the air, and so he is suspended and can't do whatever. And then the safety room closes, and she is stuck on the outside trying to chant this thing. The world is empty and full of. The world is empty and full of nothing. The world is empty and full of nothing, chanting over and over again, trying to not succumb to whatever this energy is that hits, and you just don't know what's happened at the end of it. She's kind of looks like she's thrashing about and being torn while Dad is like in this mantra state. Went on. Really, really liked it. Super high energy. I love these wraparound covers that the Vault does. I also like the fact that they have like a book blurb on the back of all the Vault comics. Just really digging the quality of Vault books, and just really, really interesting. And this first issue was really creepy and interesting and exciting, and I want to know, what's going on, what's going to be happening in it, sort of thing. Okay, drink of my soda here, so I'm talking. Alrighty. Next up, Black Science, issue number 41, the penultimate issue 42, which is like, pretty sure it's next issue. Now that I've said that, maybe I read in the Backman or something. Anyway, next issue is supposed to be oversized, big, massive, oversized thing. In this issue, they're all marching in a perfect society. Grant's having problems adapting to the perfect society. We find out that the Kandar has won, basically. He's rewritten reality how he wants it. No one remembers how the old reality was. Everybody thinks everything's perfect, and this is just the way things are supposed to be and how they should be, except for Grant. Grant remembers because Kandar left him so he can remember, as kind of a torture, as kind of a thumbing his nose up at Grant for being the loser. And once Grant acknowledges that Kandar is the superior scientist and guy, an all-around manly man, then Grant can have his mind wiped and he can go live a happy life with everybody else having a happy life. And of course, Grant, being the chaos person that he is, can't abide to that, and things go nuts at the end of it. So we're gonna have an exciting ending to a wonderful, wonderful series that I have enjoyed all the way along. Little Bird, issue number 5, the final issue, final chapter of this book, except there's going to be more. At the end of it, they say, oh, yeah, by the way, we got more. Ian Bertram's already working on the next stuff. This issue, there's lots of fighting. People get killed. I feel like nothing much is resolved. I mean, maybe they reestablish Canada as its own sovereign country. I'm not 100% sure. The art is brilliant in it. I don't know. There's some decent storytelling parts to it, but I don't know. Well, I don't know the resolve the whole lot. It just kind of was. By the end of it, it just kind of was. Time had passed, and the father gets beat, maybe. But at the same time, he's also immortal, so I'm not sure how that all 100% plays out, and maybe that's why it's going to be more story. But dude, the art, man, it's all about the art in this book. Great stuff. It'll be gorgeous when it comes out in its own kind of like trade dress version. It's gonna be smart to look at. It is gonna be really awesome. Book I love every issue of. Fair Lady, issue number 4. It's just such a great way to read a book. The characters are enjoyable. There's a certain amount of humor and chuckle. Maybe it's the fact is of course, I was a big Magnum PI fan back in the day, and they mentioned this book is kind of written under that style of storytelling, and they nail it so well largely. In this issue, our Fair Lady is hired to find a book or figure out who committed the crime in this novel. They have a novel, and the last page has been torn out of the novel, and they're trying to figure out who it was that committed the crime and whatnot. So, she goes on this adventure to figure out, who, to find a new copy of the book, which is very rare, or to figure out who it was that who did the deed at the end. Because all the books they can find, the last pages have been torn out, and they need to figure that out. And it's just fun. It's great. Yeah, just really, really enjoy the heck out of the book. It's a lot of fun. Evolution, issue number 17. Issue 18 is the last issue of this. Everything's coming to its final potential conclusion. People are evolving at a rapid rate. Our mad doctor is just that. He is mad, but the evolution is happening. It's not like he is not really seeing what's there, but he has just been on this murdering spree. He keeps getting pushed and told that that's what he's been doing, is being on a murder spree. He has conveniently fabricated what he needed to murder the people. All he's trying to do, he knows his days are numbered. He's just trying to find a cure for his son. But of course, it's not a disease. There is no cure. This is the evolution. This is a rapid next step for a man, or God, if you're talking to the sister that's in this, moving people closer to godliness, because clearly what we've done is not been working with the environment the way it is, with the way the world is right now. We ain't gonna make it. We've got to change, and this is the rapid change potentially to meet that. Great artwork in here by Funurani with Justin Boyd doing the colors on it, just really dark and dynamic. And I've been enjoying the hell out of it. It's a book that's been written basically by 3 people all the way along. It's been cohesive all the way along, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it all ties up at the end of it. But some great stuff. The end of Infinite Dark, issue number 8, and it really does say the end of this. Lots of navel gazing in this issue, and some decision making as to whether or not they're going to ride out their ship in their in the cave that they've created for themselves against the non-reality that's potentially outside of them, and all slowly starve to death, or do they treat this shield that's around them as a cocoon, a chrysalis that they're going to break out of and see what's next in the universe? Quasi happy ending by the end of this thing. It does say the end. I suppose they could write more. I would think they would be prudent to not, unless they are really going to tell something different. They've beaten what this thing started out with the first 4 issues, kind of to its end. I don't see where else they would take it at, kind of thing. I mean, they can explore what the universe is after this is everything that happens in this happens in it. But that would be taking the story in a completely other direction. And then Infinite Dark doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. But it's been a fun read. I enjoyed the 8 issues that it is. I would doubt, though, that if it suddenly came back up in solicitations, and nothing in the back of this says that it's going to, but if it were to, I would have to really ponder whether or not I would pick it up, just because I don't see what else they would do with it at this point. So, and the last book of this week, Lucifer issue number 10. I love this book. The art duties are just by Max Furama this week. The book up to this point has been more stylized than Sebastian. The 2 of them can look alike, but they aren't exactly the same because they clearly are 2 individual artists. You know, though being twins. But I really enjoyed this issue. Lucifer resolves some stuff in the pantheon of the Egyptian gods. They try to do some shenanigans, and Lucifer basically slaps them down. He moves on to a new a pantheon. He lands in the like the India with Ganesh and stuff pantheon. He's going to talk to the underworld person that controls that, because he's trying to find a place for his lover from the past, the witch god Syrinx, I think her name is, and gets down to their underworld and finds out that the caretaker isn't there right now, and they would really like him to retrieve said caretaker. And meanwhile, on this island that's hidden from God, the right hand of God, the wrath of God, kind of finds the place and goes after it. But it also happens to be that all the witches of all the worlds and all the realities are all on this island having a big Sabbath, and they pretty much hose the right hand, the wrathful hand of God. And some other interesting things happen in it. I just really love this comic. Dan Watters is just writing such a smart comic on so many different levels. I'm just absolutely, really digging what's going on here. The colors by Dave McCaig that they've chosen for this palette for this entire series, the blues and the oranges that are in it are just really, really rich and really, really cool. And Lucifer's on another adventure. He's off fixing somebody else's problems to fix his own problems, and he's running out of time, to save his ex-lover who spurned the moon for Lucifer. So yeah, I don't know. I love all. There's just enough poetry. There's enough poetry and that kind of romance era storytelling to it. It feels to me like that. I just really, really love all that stuff. The fake English major in me just is tickled by those aspects and whatnot. And I just think that Dan Watters writes a smart book too. This thing's been great. I'm just excited to see what is next for it. And speaking of Dan Watters, I think next week or the week after that, his new book from Image Comics comes out called Coffin Bound. I'm super stoked for that book also, just because I'm really excited to jump on some other stuff that he is writing, because I've really dug the comic books of his that I have read. And that is it this time around. Who knows what'll be back? If there is no comic book roundtable, hopefully I will then get to some other videos of my own. We'll see what the future holds, but it's gonna be a bummer if this is the end of the Hangouts, because it's gonna make it a lot harder to have people on here and have conversations that are live and going on at the time, as opposed to the last. So everybody who tunes in and watches this or has been watching this, I appreciate it ever so much. I appreciate your guys' comments. And we'll see what the future holds. Have a great night, everybody.